Hello and welcome, everyone. Welcome. It's the top of the hour, and let's begin. Do you ever feel like tech is the biggest thing holding you back from going live or doing a lot of things online, right? Oh my God, you're not alone. You are not alone. I even had a dream about that last night. But what if I told you that tech isn't the real problem? What if I told you that tech isn't the real problem? Listen, stick with me and I'll show you how to get tech ready without the overwhelm so you can show up confidently and keep the focus off the tech and on your message. So, whether you're new to LinkedIn Live or you've struggled with tech before, today we're going to break down the essentials of tech readiness. When your setup is solid, you can stop worrying about the tech and start focusing on what truly matters: your audience and your message. So, if you know someone who struggles with tech or is hesitant to go live, hit that go live button. Go ahead and tag them in the comments or share this with them live. Let's get them in here and let's help more people show up confidently. That is my goal today. And I'm glad to see you here. I see people coming in now. Go ahead and leave a comment in the chats. Let me call out your name so I can see who's here and welcome you personally. All right, let me pull the chat up. Great. Welcome. So glad to see you here. I just see a standstill image. So, Stefan, do you see me moving now? Do you see me? Maybe it was the first minute, but please give me feedback about that. I'm checking it on my own channels here and it seems to be working, but I love your feedback. Live feedback is the best. I appreciate that from you. And thanks for joining it. But you might be wondering, who am I and why should you even listen to me? If we haven't met before, hi, I'm Elizabeth. I'm a verbal branding expert and I help professionals like you own your voice and increase your impact through LinkedIn Lives. My mission today and this whole month is to help you feel confident with the camera so you can focus on delivering the message that matters most. Okay, I see more comments coming in. Yes, thank you. And Mary's here as well. Welcome, Mary. The first minute was a lag. No worries. Yeah, there is a delay. That's one of the beauties of live streaming. And you might notice a delay in me reading your comments. That doesn't mean I'm ignoring you. That means I'm getting into it and then you get it a minute or two later. So yeah, let's keep that interactivity up. And I appreciate your feedback. It's what makes these events better. So, as I mentioned before, this is part 3 of my 4-part series on Go Live with Ease. And I encourage you to catch all the sessions. I don't think I'm going to be taking them down, but I might. We'll see. Here is a link. I'll put the link there so that you can catch the sessions. Don't do it now because we're here live and I want to talk with you live. I see more people coming in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let's talk about why this matters. Why does talking about tech matters? Tell me, how often do you hesitate or feel nervous to go live or post or share a video or many of the things we want to do because you're unsure about your tech setup? How often do you hesitate? Is it always, sometimes, never? Go ahead and leave a comment. Let me know where you are with that. And this I find is actually the number one mistake that people make: not having a backup plan. We tend to assume that, hey, I'm using Restream, I'm using StreamYard, that's the best at the moment. And we tend to assume that everything's going to work perfectly. But without a backup plan, even a small tech issue can derail your whole live session. As I said, today my focus is getting the focus on your message and away from tech distractions. Because really, tech confidence equals on-camera confidence. If you have a team, if you have people taking care of the tech for you, you can focus on your message, you can focus on you. But when you're running the show alone or even with just 2 people, tech confidence directly correlates to your on-camera confidence. Because when you're sure your tech setup is solid, you can focus on engaging with your audience, delivering the value that you promised so that people can connect with your message without distractions. Michelle is here. Welcome, Michelle. So glad to see you. Good morning. Yes, for me, it's afternoon. In Florida, where Michelle is morning. Welcome to all of you. Everyone needs the open source OSB Studio. I am not going to say you're wrong, but there are a lot of different situations. And for some people, that's a learning curve. That's a hurdle, but I like the direction you're taking that, and we'll get into some of those solutions a little bit further. Absolutely. Right now, I want to make an analogy, share an analogy that I've experienced. That learning how to do live streaming setups and things like that, for me, it was a lot like learning how to drive a car. There's a bit of muscle memory there. At first, I was completely overwhelmed, and just coasting in a parking lot was causing a near panic attack. But over time, I got used to how things responded, the steering wheel, the brakes, the turn signals, the gas, and it became muscle memory. And now suddenly I'm listening to the radio, talking on the phone. Oops, no, hands free, of course. At first, these things may feel overwhelming, but with practice, it really does get easier. Hello, hello, hello. I see people coming in. We have Zoe on LinkedIn. Welcome. So glad to see you here. So, my tip for whichever systems, whichever tools you're using, whether it's Restream, StreamYard, Zoom, whatever software, whatever hardware packages you're using, create a checklist. Just like we got in driver's ed, or at least I get. I write down my steps and adjust it over time so that you never miss an essential prep task. If you want my list, tell me in the chat. Tell me you want that tech prep list. In fact, it has a name and you can write it in there. It's the Go Live Tech check. So you can type that in. Tell me if you want it. Do you want it? I will give it to you. I will give it to you. But again, it's about having that backup plan. So before I give you my tech check list, I have a question. How often do you do a tech check before going live? Let's have a little interactivity here. So write A if it's every time. Oh, here, I'm going to pull up the slide. So go ahead and write A if it's every time, B if it's sometimes, and C if it's never. I never do a checklist. Tech check. Oops. How often do you do a tech check before going live? For me, it's definitely every time, but I'm curious about my audience. And this can be going live if you've never done a live session yourself. I see more people coming in. Welcome. We're talking about doing live streaming on LinkedIn or other platforms, but it could also be a Zoom meeting that you're having. Do you do a tech check before you start? Every time, sometimes, or never? A, B, or C? Write it in the comments. And as Stefan, am I pronouncing your name correctly? Please correct me. Pointed out, there is a bit of a lag, so go ahead and write those in. We have Zoe with A every time. High five for you. Great. And of course, everyone, if I'm saying your name incorrectly, correct me. Mary has an A with 2 exclamation points. I appreciate that. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, these tech checks are essential. And I actually, you're not going to believe it, but when I have a guest, or even for myself, I actually do 2 tech checks. So not just 1, but 2. I do one a few days prior before my live event if I have guests, and to address any potential issues. So I have them set it up as if we're going live, and then we check, how's the lighting? How's the background? What about sound, noises? All of these things, connectivity, speed. I have them do a speed test. And then I also do a final check at least 45 minutes to an hour before my live begins to ensure that everything works smoothly. Now this tech check, the final tech check on the day of, it usually takes about 10 minutes. But if there's an issue, if there's a problem, if I need to activate my plan B or C or D, which I have had to do in the past, that gives me a chunk of time to do that without added time stress or time pressure. I developed this plan a while ago when I was a guest on someone else's live session, and we started a half hour late. And I thought, there's no need for this. I can plan in advance. Michelle answers with B, only because I forget. And Stefan, it's with an AI agent checking. There we go. Nothing like having a helper right there, right? Like get in there, check that stuff. And this is the kind of stuff I want to have AI doing more in my life, stuff that I can outsource, like do my laundry for me, clean my house for me. Creative stuff and strategy stuff is for me, but AI can do these tech checks. Absolutely. Love the direction you're taking that. So, the three critical areas for anyone listening live or on the replay to check before going live. Number one, connectivity and speed. Hold on one second. So, we have your answers for that. Yeah, I'm going to go through this. We're going to wait for that a second. We're going to, oops. What happens when there's human error? Haha, you smile and you keep going because we're live. Launch coffee brew. Yes. I always make sure everyone has water because you never know when you're going to need it. And then you can just take a sip. But I love that, launching the coffee brew. And I don't know if that's for right now or when you're doing a live session. Either way, I'm on the same team as you. So connectivity and speed, I often recommend using a cable or having your phone and test that before the event. On site, I know a lot of people like to do on sites at events, live streaming, or in the factory revealing a new product. Check for weather conditions, check for anything that can influence that, and do a speed test to ensure the stability. Now, I'm going to go back to the slides now and show you kind of an overview of that list that I have for the tech check when I'm going through with a guest. So the first thing is making sure all speakers have confirmed the speaker role. On LinkedIn, this is a serious issue for some people because then the live starts and they can't get in. All extra programs are closed. We're talking about bandwidth, software update to the newest version. Check your lighting. Sometimes, especially with a guest, I'm turning the light on and off. I don't know if you can see me in the small window, but turning the light on and off because you can see if it's yellow hues or blue hues, and checking to make sure that you look the same color or look the same space so it's not so obvious. I was having an interview once with a guest who looked gray, and we really tried a lot, but weren't able to change that. But checking the speed check, and that's available for free online. The mic, check for background noise. I have construction happening very often next door in the apartment next door to me. So I work with that when I can. Making sure your video is working is connecting. Turn off notifications because my mom will call. Enable captions on LinkedIn Live. Some of these are specific to LinkedIn, and record the show on other platforms. Now, with my tech check, I have three different parts. As I said, there's the connectivity and speed, the audio, and checking to make sure that you're not coming too close or having too many S's, and just making sure that things are flowing smoothly and you sound about the same volume with a guest, and making sure the video, the camera quality, the lighting are on point. All right. Which of these areas of the three I mentioned do you have the most trouble with? Is it more connectivity, speed, audio, or video? Audio, video, or connectivity. Type audio, video, or connectivity. And I'm going to show you my tech check. And this is the one I showed you here, this slide. The second area that I really like to check is the content. If I have a guest, are they prepared for the questions? Do they have their notes, graphics, sound files, props, links, free giveaways, whatever they want to work with? Or if I'm working alone, this is the same. So making sure we have that content check. So this is a little bit away from the tech, but making sure all those documents and material are lined up, ready to go, makes your life a lot easier. I have some more comments here. If you're from Stefan, if you're using 3CX software, you have control and connectivity issues. Open source as well. For a while, yeah, absolutely. For a while, I was using Restream. I often test different platforms that are available at different times. I test both the free and the paid offers. And I noticed that Riverside demanded a lot more bandwidth than other platforms. And they even had their own speed check to make sure of that. Michelle, I reboot the computer. Excellent idea. Mary, I experienced more video issues, but I see people experiencing more audio issues. This is really interesting. I often tell people, which will come up later in our talk about upgrades and what to focus on for hardware upgrades. I often tell people to focus on audio first. Audio first, because if the video is great, but the audio is hard to hear, not only will people easily get distracted and move away, but many people are listening without audio. So you think, hey, Elizabeth, if they're listening without audio, why do I need good audio? You need good quality audio so that the captions will be accurate. So even if people are listening without sound, you need quality audio to get the captions. And that's your message. That's the content. I mean, unless you're a supermodel or doing fashion in the fashion industry or showing off a product, it's really the audio. So, and I'm sorry to hear, Mary, that you experienced more video issues, because that's frustrating. But audio issues are something we really want to focus on and take a look at. The third area, when I'm working with a guest specifically, is the personal confidence check. Also for myself, checking what are we wearing? Sometimes striped clothing can look weird in video. Making sure we have water, the notes, going to the toilet before we begin, and checking in on the feelings and nerves. Why do I check in on the feelings and nerves? Because, and this is really important, if you have confidence and you are presenting well, your message is clear. So how do we get that confidence? By focusing on the value. What is the value we're delivering? What is the value I want to share with my audience today? Yes, I want to think about how I feel and what am I basing my confidence upon? Am I basing my confidence on the graphic interface? Am I basing my confidence on the props I'm using? Am I basing my confidence on the way my hair looks? Where are my strengths? This is exactly where I want to base my confidence. And for me, it's about delivering value for you today. Great. Great. So, these are my quick tech checklist that I go through with a guest before we start. And I have a question. I'm going to show you my cat-o-meter. Here's my cat-o-meter. When I shared these questions with you, the things that I go through quickly with my guests before we begin, not all of them, but that's the majority of them. How does this list make you feel? A, B, or C with all of these tech checks and issues, the last minute things to check, especially turning off notifications, because oh my gosh, my mom always calls no matter when I do a live session or have a meeting where I can't be interrupted. That's when she'll call. And I love my mom. I love my mom with my whole heart. But those calls can be very disruptive. So go ahead and let me know using the catometer, how do you
Does this
feel?
list make you
Ooh,
feel A, B, or C with all of the
goodness me. That was the question I wanted to ask. How does that make you feel? And I see we have more people joining. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're using a cat-o-meter right now. How do you feel about some of the tech check questions I shared with you just now? Zoe is a bee. She's a bee kitty. Oh my God, that kitty is so cute. Just look at the eyes. Ah! I would say I'm kind of a B. I feel great until something goes wrong, and then I'm leaning towards a C, but I have to try and get back to that B because part of the tech check that I didn't list is always having a backup plan. Having a backup plan so you're ready to go when things aren't flowing. When things aren't flowing. I see Deanna's here with us as well. Deanna from Vienna, thank you for joining us. So glad to have you here. Glad to see you in the group. Excellent, excellent. So we're looking at the kitty meter. And Mary is also a bee kitty. Mary is also a bee kitty. I love it. I love it. I love it. All these kitties. So I'm going to turn the slides off. You can still go ahead and vote. Give me your kitty votes, whether you're listening live or on the replay. We'll still get them and see them. Excuse me, but we're going to turn this off for a second and start talking about upgrades. Upgrades. What is the tech, like the most basic system I recommend you need to start? And I do welcome everyone who's here live today to also contribute their ideas and their experiences and their stories, because I'm here to listen and we can all learn from each other. So yeah, we're going to talk about what we need to start and then how to upgrade over time and overcoming that just tech overwhelm. So, what's one piece of technology that you've been considering or maybe putting off upgrading? Drop that in the chat. Drop that in the chat. What have you been considering or putting off upgrading? And this can be hardware or software. So, go ahead and list that. Excuse me for 1 second. And I want to talk about, while you're listing what you're considering, the myth of needing fancy gear. I speak with a lot of people about LinkedIn Lives, and what I hear is this myth of needing fancy gear, needing the top of the line, the most expensive, the top performing. And the truth is, you don't need the best, most expensive equipment to start. Absolutely not. Begin with what you have, even if it's not the most perfect solution to your problem. Begin with what you have, begin with what you're already familiar with. Use what you know and upgrade as you go. One thing I experience a lot with people who are, welcome to those who are just joining now. I see you're coming in. Welcome, welcome. One thing I've had a number of clients where they're familiar with Zoom. They already have a paid subscription for Zoom and want to go live on LinkedIn and think they need to buy another service or purchase another service like Restream, Riverside, StreamYard, because they're the approved vendors. And while it's true, using an approved vendor is an easier start if you have no experience with another platform. It's possible to do live streaming with Zoom, with a platform that you already have. And for the first step, when you're testing things out, I always say it's better to start with what you know. It helps make those first steps a little bit easier. Makes those first steps a little bit easier. And then again, you can grow over time. So my simple go live kit, um, you can create a professional live stream setup without breaking the bank. It's just focusing on the essentials and then aim for consistency. And that, I find, for many is a key mindset shift. The goal is always consistency, not perfection. The person who's showing up week after week or even month after month, even if you're only streaming once a month, You're already light years ahead from the person who's too petrified to try, who's still trying to get the perfect setup, recording and re-recording and hiding behind the scenes rather than going live. So, try and get this key mindset shift. The goal is consistency, not perfection. Don't let the fear of imperfection keep you from going live. If you hear nothing else today, please hear this message and start. So, I want to show you, um, my goodness, where is it? I have my slides. Speaking of troubles, right? Speaking of troubles, here it is. Nope. Jumping ahead, preview. Whoops, whoops. So here I have a Go Live Tech Kit. Ooh, that's a little tricky for my mouth. The Go Live Tech Kit, which is basically a document that has listed out not only the essentials for a LinkedIn Live checklist, where you go through every detail and you can check them all off, ding, 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 in order before you go live, but also an upgrade worksheet. So this is a worksheet that takes you through and says, okay, what are the essentials that you need to start and how to upgrade over time? It's listed out very simply. There's even links in there to direct you to where you need to go to get that information. I thought about sharing this all live with you on this session. However, it's recorded. And the thing I found with these kinds of lists, as soon as it's published, many of these things are out of date. For example, listing out exactly which software tools to use, which hardware tools to use, they are updated constantly. And I do my best to keep on top of them, to keep up to date on what's available and what's the best. And I appreciate so much from Stefan listing some really great tips today as well, the OSB and open source studio, and thinking about using AI agents to help you. Absolutely. But really, I have a decision tree that I take in an audit I go through with my clients, a decision tree of how comfortable am I? How tech savvy am I? How much time do I have to invest to learn a new system? And how quickly, like, what are my goals? What are my results? What do I need to succeed? And then combining those different elements, I help set up the exact plan or system that'll work best for you right now to get started, right? So it's based on a customized situation because each business, each person, each situation I find is a little bit different. Not a completely new, we're not reinventing the wheel, but just kind of tweaking and setting things up so your first steps are as smooth as possible. Great. Excellent. So we're coming up to the half hour. So I want to summarize a few things that we talked about today, especially for those who are just joining me now. To sum up, tech readiness is about knowing your tools, having a plan, and staying consistent. So that's knowing your tools, having a plan, and staying consistent. Because once you've got your tech set up, you can focus on delivering your message with confidence. And that's kind of the whole main point here, isn't it? Delivering your message with confidence and remembering that there's a direct correlation between tech confidence and on camera confidence. If I'm sitting here struggling and juggling around with my phone, trying to figure out why the sound isn't working, it's really difficult for me to share my message with you and keep the focus on the main points of my talk today. So, really, it's great to have a checklist, do your checks, try and remember every time, and start with simple gear. You don't need to be perfect, but consistent. All right. So, I'm just checking. We have a minute. If there are a few questions, drop your questions in. We can try and discuss that. And I also want to have an overview here. I'm out of focus. An overview here of the 4 pillars that we talked about that are essential. Whoops. The 4 pillars, I'm having slide trouble today. The 4 pillars for going live with ease. And that's the 4 pillars that I've been doing this Go Live with Ease series on. The first one was about content. The second one was your brand, specifically verbal branding, but also visual brand. Number 3, that's today. We talked about tech readiness. And next Thursday, we're diving into LinkedIn presence. That's leveraging LinkedIn and using your presence to share your message. As I promised, if you leave a message either in the chat or send me a DM, send me a private message, connect with me and ask for the Go Live Tech Kit. I'll send you those documents. No sign up, no registration. I'll just send them to you. Easy peasy. And also, if you're interested, I'm still have my Go Live with Ease diagnostic quiz. That's a diagnostic quiz. It takes fewer than 3 minutes of your time to get kind of a quick assessment of how ready you are with your content, brand, tech readiness, and LinkedIn presence. Now, I noticed that my video is covering that. My goodness. So one thing, as I mentioned, I shared that I am always using new software tools and things. So this is leads to me having kind of some of these few little glitches when we're live because I'm constantly using new interfaces so I can stay up to date and give you answers. So excuse the glitchiness, but now you can see the link so that you can copy that if you want. Zoe asks a question: what tech software would you recommend for LinkedIn Live? Now, I think you're talking about the connectivity. Right now, I'm using Restream. I'm pretty pleased with that. I've used both the paid and the free version. Currently, I'm using the paid version, so that's why you don't see the watermark on the screen. But the free version's also really great. You can test it out, see how you feel. The user interface, again, it depends on how you feel and how comfortable you are using tech and tech savvy you are. The user interface, I feel, is a little bit trickier than StreamYard, but it's not impossible to learn. There are plenty of tutorials and videos, and even just a 1-hour investment of your time can get you feeling fairly comfortable with it. But does that answer your question? But I mean, there are a host of options available on LinkedIn. In fact, on I've posted it elsewhere, but maybe I can post it again after the session's over. LinkedIn offers their preferred partners. There are ones you can do that are not preferred partners, which means it's possible, but it takes a little more savviness on your part to connect them. That can be with Riverside, with Zoom, and other additional options there. But I find that a lot of people, particularly for first steps, find StreamYard to be pretty intuitive and easy to use. In fact, I know people who swear by it and refuse to use anything else. I'm not one of them, but that's a popular one. So thank you, Elizabeth. So I guess that answered your question. And again, please set up a call. Let's have a talk and we can talk about your exact situation. Maybe you have software tools you're already using that would be easy for you then to transition with just a few small or minor tweaks. Just start with what you know, start with what you're already using is always my advice there. Great. Other questions? We have ask me anything moment. So I'm going to check just to make sure all the comments are coming through because I'm multi-streaming here. I'm also speaking with I'm not speaking with, but I'm also streaming to both Instagram and YouTube. So again, if you want the free quiz, go ahead and use that QR code or the link. And if you want the Go Live Tech Kit, go ahead and just write Go Live Tech Kit and I'll send it to you without any other step required by you. I'll send it over right away. There are 2 PDFs, easy peasy to access and use because I want to help you. And Zoe said, head off. I need to head off now. Thanks for the webinar. Absolutely so glad to have you here. And that concludes our session. I'm really glad that you were all here today. Do follow me for more tips on confidently sharing your message with live video. Follow me on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Instagram. Thanks so much for your time, and I wish you all a wonderful day. Don't forget, you can always send questions or type them in the comments even after this session's over. Thanks again for joining, and I'll see you next week. Ciao.